Just help me feel normal, even if it's just for a night. That's all I want. That fucking hurts! I yelled as Aura helped me back to my hooves. The place where I was shot by the stallion, still sore even after the healing potion. Of course it hurts, you dumbass. You just got shot, Aura said, moving her head down to look over the wound. It's healing fine, but you'll still have a bruise from where it hit. Luckily for you, this armor took away a lot of the damage you would have gotten if you weren't wearing it. As long as it's not going to kill me, then let's get going. We've wasted enough time as it is, I said. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be moving just yet, Shadow. You've just been shot, Windthrasher said, coming back over to look at the wound too. I'm fine. I just got shot. I get shot a lot. It's no big deal, I said, pushing past her. Wingnut followed me, saying, What was that stallion talking about? What ponies did you wrong, and what mare was he talking about? Who knows? Personally, I think if you want to tell some pony to stay away from something, you should tell them who they mean. The mare he's talking about could be my mom or another pony she knows. The ponies I've wronged, fuck, that could be anyone too. From Appleton to the Enclave. I don't really care though. Whoever he is, he can threaten me all he wants. It won't stop me, I said, still continuing onward. You do realize that if some pony goes after you, they'll come after us too, right? Wingnut continued. I stopped, then looked back at him. Yes, I do, Wingnut, and I'm not worried about that either. You can all take care of yourselves. I trust that even if something happens to me, you'll be fine. Plus, you have Aura with you, and I don't think anything in the wasteland can take her down. Aura laughed as she caught up to us. There's plenty of things out here that can take me down, Shadow. To you, I may seem invincible, but I'm not. I'm just highly trained and better at fighting than most. You also gotta realize that you've been around New Pegasus ever since you got out of your stable. There isn't as much things to deal with around here, unlike with the rest of Equestria. Hell, go to Hoofington sometime and you'll understand what I mean. I chuckled a little, then winced as a bit of pain ran through my chest. I've heard plenty of things so far about Hoofington. From what I know, I definitely don't want to go there. Is it really that bad? I was told it was a great place to find big scores, if you're hunting treasure, Windthrasher said. Aura laughed. That's the bullshit that pulls some ponies to the place. The truth is, it's hell. I know my mom went there for a while. I'm not sure why, apart from trying to find a Dashite, I said. Aura shuddered. I've only been there once, and I don't want to go back. The raiders alone are enough to keep you away. Why would raiders be a problem? I asked. Sure, they can be a pain in the ass, but they aren't hard to kill. The raiders in Hoofington aren't anything like what you've seen, Shadow. Hoofington raiders take cannibalism to a whole new level. There's something wrong with them. They're crazier than anything I've ran into here. They don't seem to feel pain. They kill just to eat, almost like a zombie. Only worse, Aura said. I shuddered. Fuck. I don't think I want to run into ponies like that. Wingnut looked thoughtful for a moment. At least the East doesn't see much activity from the Enclave, unlike here. That's true, Aura said, looking at him. I don't think I ever saw Pegasus while I was back east. Stratus seems to be a lot different than the rest of the Enclave. Can we please just change the subject? I'm not really in the mood to talk about the Enclave right now. I'd like nothing more than to just forget about them all entirely. My three friends looked over at me. Then together they nodded, Wingnut saying, Sorry, Shadow. We've been talking about them a lot while you were out, and we forgot about the problems you've been having with them. It's fine. It's just every time I think about them, I think about Stardust. I want to get him back, and I feel helpless not knowing how I can help him. Don't worry, Shadow. We'll find him and get him back, Wingnut said, giving me a smile. I ruffled his mane. You know what? You're right, kiddo. Well, duh. I'm always right, he said. Not always. So don't push your luck. Now, let's get going. I'd like to reach Trotston before it gets dark, I said, without another word, and we all started moving. The road leading to Trotston reminded me a lot of the road that led me into Cartwheel. Not many ponies traveled down the cracked road. Every now and then a heavily guarded caravan would pass by, but no pony by themselves. As we drew closer to where Trotston was supposed to be on the map, I started to notice something silver appearing on the horizon. The closer we got, the bigger whatever it was grew. What is that? I asked, pointing to the silvery image on the horizon. That's the wall of Trotston, Ora answered. I stopped. How tall are those walls if we can see them from this far away? Around 25 feet. I'm not sure, to be honest. It's not like I've ever gotten close enough to measure it, she replied. Before I could ask more, we came to a small hill. I thought we were further away than we were, but as we crested the small hill, I saw Trotston in full view. I thought I was wrong. Trotston was less than a mile away, and even from here I could see the tall walls that surrounded the town. It was bumped up against a hill with a small cave halfway up. The walls of the town seemed to go up the hill as well, protecting it from all sides. The road led right up to a massive gate that had 2 guards in front of it. Holy shit. I understand being careful in the wasteland, but it's a little much, don't you think? I asked. Not really. Trotston is known for making and finding some very high-tech stuff. The ponies who live there have had a lot of run-ins with the Steel Rangers and scavengers over the years. They decided years ago that instead of dealing with them all the time, they made it almost impossible to get into their town. The Red Talons have been trying for a long time to set up a contract for protection with them, but they won't do it. That pony doesn't trust any pony from the outside. I heard they used to trade with some ponies from the Caberlon Caravan Company, but one day they just stopped. Now they'll only trade with some ponies in New Pegasus, and not even that often, Wingnut said. I don't know, boss. All I know is that we're gonna have a hard time getting in there, Ora said. With me alone, I think it's gonna be even harder, Windthrasher said. Isn't there a way to sneak in? I asked. Ora started to laugh. Are you kidding me, Shadow? Sneak into that? Trotston has some of the best defenses in the wasteland, and their walls don't have any gaps in them. The ponies who guard it are highly trained, and you can't just fly in either, because from what I heard, there's some kind of barrier or force field that stops flyers. How do we get in? I asked. Ora pinched her beak in annoyance. I don't know. We need to think of something. Maybe we can just ask the guards to see the leader or something. I'm not sure. Wingnut spoke up. Why don't we get something to eat so we can sit down and think about it? My stomach rumbled at the mention of food. That does sound like a good idea. But where would we do that? If you haven't noticed, we're in the middle of nowhere. Over there, he said, pointing down the road at an old-looking building. It had a small sign hanging on it that said, Kegger's Saloon. Isn't saloon another word for a bar? I asked. Sure is. Good eye, boss, Ora said, heading towards the building. Wingnut closely following behind Ora. Windthrasher came up next to me as the other two walked off. What's a bar? I laughed. It's a place where you can get food and alcohol. And why is that a good place to go? She asked as I started following my 2 friends. Oh, Windthrasher, you may be book smart, but you have no idea what you're missing when it comes to fun times with my good friend, Wild Pegasus, I said, catching up to Ora and Wingnut just as they opened the door. The first impression I got when I walked into the saloon was this place was way different than the bar at the Applewood. It was dark, dank, and smelled like mold. The bar looked ready to fall over. The tables were cracked and old, and I'm not sure I wanted to know why the glasses were that color. A few ponies were sitting around drinking, talking in hushed voices. As we walked in the door, most of the ponies looked up at us. giving us a look like we just walked into their homes. Are you sure this is a good idea? I asked, not liking the way some of the ponies were eyeing me. Aura ignored them and walked towards the bar. Ignore them. If they wanted to do anything, they would have already. She walked up to the bartender and put out a few caps. My friends and I need something to eat. The dirty pony took the caps and said in a rough voice, I've got some stored apples in the back. They haven't gone bad yet. Do you have any sugar apple bombs? I asked when I came up to stand next to Aura. Might have a box lying around, he replied. Y'all need anything to drink? My eyes lit up. I'll take a bottle of Wild Pegasus. Shadow, we don't need you getting drunk. We're here to plan and eat, not to drink, Aura said. Bottle will be 50 caps, the bartender said, putting down a bottle. I passed on the caps, taking the bottle, then saying to Aura, I won't get drunk, but I'd like a bottle for later. You don't need to watch over me now, Mom. She looked ready to punch me, but I just smiled and took the box of sugar apple bombs the bartender pulled out and walked off towards a vacant table. She just shook her head and took the old-looking apples the bartender had. Whatever, Shadow. But don't blame me if you get fucked up because of that bottle. I sat down at the table, followed soon after by my 3 friends. I sat back and started to eat the cereal. So, who has any ideas on how to get into Trotston? I asked, munching on the cereal. Aura took a bite of her apple, wincing a little as she did, and then said, Yuck, this thing's almost too old to eat. She shivered, then ate the rest. Well, the only thing I can think of is to tell the guards that you have the Mark II and want to speak to their leader. Or we can just show up with Windthrasher and hope they don't shoot us, Wingnut said. Windthrasher seemed to sink in the chair as she said, I don't like that plan. Bullets hurt. I didn't say it was a good plan, he said, eating his apple too. You're right, Aura. This thing's nasty. I moved the box of sugar apple bombs towards him. Have some of this. It's really good. He took some as Aura spoke. We could just tell them that the courier mare wants to meet with the leaders of Trotston. Your name does carry some sway now. Maybe with most ponies, but I'm not sure Trotston cares about things like that. Especially if they know that I took out Appleton. Well, we won't know unless we try, she said, reaching over and taking some of my cereal. As we sat there planning, the door of the saloon flew open, and a short earth pony mare walked in and towards the bar. She looked cleaner than any other ponies in here. I looked over, watching her. She looked older than Wingnut, but she was really young. What was she doing in a place like this? The filly was cute, too. She had a pure white coat and a bright blue mane that she pulled up in twin ponytails on each side of her head. Her eyes were a striking dark blue. I also noticed that she had what looked like reinforced stable barding, a number 9 stitched on the back. She ignored the others in the room and went straight to the bartender, jumping onto a bar stool and said, Hey, Tapper. Any idea where I can find needles? The bartender's lazy eyes widened a little as the filly spoke. Bite, I told you not to come in here anymore. If Rusty catches you, it'll be my ass. Did I ask for your opinion? I don't think I did. What I asked was, have you seen Needles? She had a commanding voice, and as she spoke, the bartender backed away as if he was scared of the filly. Why are you looking for him? He owes me caps. Why else would I be looking for that bum? The filly said, her voice getting louder. My friend stopped their conversation and looked over towards her as the bartender responded. Last time I saw him, he was heading towards Appleton. Bullshit, Tapper. I know for a fact that he was here earlier. There's no way he would be heading towards a dead town. Now tell me where he is, before I get pissed off more than I already am, she shouted at him. Bite, there's no need for that. I'm just telling you what he told me when I saw him. She waited a minute to respond, but when she did, she spoke slowly. You really want me to believe that he came in here and told you that he was heading towards Appleton, a city that was destroyed? Come on. Do I really look that stupid to you? Another pony came out of the back room. I thought the other ponies in here looked dirty. This pony made the rest of them look clean. As he walked up to the bar, he stared down at the filly. I wouldn't say you're stupid, Bite, but you are an idiot! She smiled up at the tall pony. There you are, Needles. Where's my caps? What caps? Last time I checked, I was paid up. Learn to count, dipshit. You still owe me 2,500 caps, plus interest. You may think you have the rest of the ponies here are scared of you, but you need to realize something. You're just a kid, and I'm not scared of a little shit like you, no matter who your caretaker is. The dirty pony said, getting right in the filly's face. Then he smiled and spat on her. I was about to say something, but the filly just started to laugh. She wiped the spit away, saying, You know what? It's funny that you think the ponies around here are scared of me because of Rusty. She pulled out an odd-looking gun from a holster, standing it on the bar. What the fuck is that? The bartender asked. Oh, this little thing? Just something that I've been working on. She looked back towards the dirty pony. You see, I did a service for you, and we agreed on a price. I did the work, and now you owe me the caps. If you don't pay up, I'm going to test this out on you. Shit, this kid was all kinds of fucked up. The dirty pony didn't seem to care. He just started laughing again. I ain't scared of anything you made, Bite. And I don't know you shit. The shit you made for me doesn't even work. So why should I pay you for shit that don't work? It's not my fault that you can't figure out how it works. Everything I make works. It's my special talent. Now pay up! She said, lifting the odd-looking gun. The dirty pony pulled out a revolver. Here's my counteroffer. How about I just shoot you and be done with it? It's either that or go back to your fucked-up town and cry over the graves of your dead parents. As he spoke, I saw an overpowering rage fill her eyes. Without saying a word, she pulled the trigger. A blast of something blew out of the end, blowing the dirty pony and the bartender off their hooves, throwing both of them back into the shelves of bottles behind them, and through the wall. She holstered the weapon. Don't say I didn't warn you. She jumped off the stool, walking around the bar, went over to the two ponies who were either dead or knocked out, and dug through the dirty pony's saddlebags and pulled out a bag of caps. As she did, I noticed the other ponies in the bar getting up and walking towards the filly. I pulled out Dreamwalker, jumping up to try and help. She turned around and saw the ponies rocking towards her. Really? You think all of you can take me on? Did you just see what I did to those two? We're sick of you coming in here and acting like you own the place, one of them said, pulling out a knife. I reached the filly and pointed Dreamwalker at the ponies. Hey, there's no need to attack her. She's just a kid. To my shock, the filly laughed. And who are you? And who are you calling kid? You don't look much older than me. Step aside, I can handle these morons. Yeah, stay out of this, cunt, the same stallion yelled. I wanted to say something, but the filly beat me to it. Hey, this is between us, not her. Now say you're sorry. Fuck you, Bite, he yelled, jumping at her, his dagger going for her face. She pulled out her gun again, pointing at the pony, and pulled the trigger. Again, it went off, and the pony was lifted off his hooves, blasted up high and through the roof. Instead of deterring the rest, they all charged us. Bite lifted the gun again, and the pony stopped as soon as it was pointed at them. She smiled. Sorry, but the bar is closed now. We're all out of booze, and I'll have to ask you all to leave in an orderly fashion. Fuck that. Shooting you all seems way more fun. She pulled the trigger again, but instead of sending them flying back like before, it made a fizzing sound like it popped and then nothing. One of the other ponies laughed, pulling out a shitty-looking shotgun. Looks like your fancy gun broke, Bite. Don't worry. I'll keep you safe, I said, pointing Dreamwalker at the pony. Go away before you find out the special things my own gun can do. I told you, outsider, I don't need your help. She tossed her gun away. In a flash, she jumped past me, tackling the pony holding the shotgun, yelling, "Pony pile!" Before I knew it, the filly had already disarmed the stallion, ripping away his shotgun, then threw it in the face of other stallions. He went down in a spray of blood and broken teeth. She jumped up, then slammed her rear hooves onto the pony she tackled, smashing his nose with a nasty crunch. Another pony tried to stab her, but she ducked under it, twisting around and kicked him in the groin. He dropped the dagger from his muzzle before falling and holding his stallion hood. I wanted to do something, but I wasn't sure what. The filly seemed to be able to take care of herself. I was stunned as I was watching what was happening. Ora walked over to me, also watching the action. She grinned and nudged me with her elbow as she said, "Now that's a girl who knows how to fight. I wonder where she learned all that." I have no idea, but I'd like to find out, I said, lowering Dreamwalker as she twisted back around, backflipped over another stallion, then slammed his face into the ground. There were only 3 ponies left now, all of them big brutes. She turned towards them with a big smile on her face. "Have you guys had enough, or are you thirsty for more?" The 3 of them were slowly backing away from the crazy filly. As they did something, moved from behind the bar. The dirty pony had pulled himself out of the rubble, with the old revolver in his muzzle. He jumped the bar and pointed at the back of the filly's head. "Someone's a little cranky. How about a dirt nap?" Wingnut ran over, jumped on my back, pulling out his revolver, and fired. The dirt pony went down, a chunk of his skull blowing away from Wingnut's single shot. The filly turned around, looking at the dead body in front of her. Then her glare fell to Wingnut. "I had this under control. He was about to blow your brains out," Wingnut said, jumping off my back and walking over to her, holstering his revolver. "A thank you would be nice. I didn't ask for help now, did I? I'd thank you if I needed your help. I'm not a defensive little filly who needs the help of any stallion who comes along, trying to save a mare in distress. You think you're gonna get a reward now or something, you stupid bug?" she retorted. "No, I was just trying to help. I don't care if you wanted it or not," he said, rolling his eyes and walking back towards Ora and me. "Let's get out of here. We can find a better place to plan," Wingnut said, looking back at Windthrasher. "Are you ready, Windthrasher?" Windthrasher nodded, then got up from the table we all sat at, stepping over the piles of ponies on the ground. I, on the other hoof, ignored him and walked over to the filly. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure, I guess," she said as she moved to pick up her gun. "But make it quick. I need to get back home before anybody notices anything." "Are you from Trotzdon?" I asked. She gave me a funny look. "Yeah, why?" "We've been trying to figure out a way into the city. I need to meet with the stallion who runs the town." She shrugged. "We don't just let any ponies into town, unless they have something of interest, Rusty." She looked over at me like I wasn't a pony that would have something like that. "I don't think you would." "Do you know what a Pip-Bug Mark II is, kid?" "I told you not to call me kid." "I can't be much older than me. Or are you just short for an adult?" "Just answer my question, please," I said, rolling my eyes. "Fine. What would you know about a Mark II?" I lifted my foreleg, showing her my Pip-Buck. "More than you think." Her eyes went wide, and she took a step back. "Where the fuck did you get that? Rusty told me it was lost a long time ago." "It's a long story, and I'd prefer to tell it to your leader. I have a few questions about it," I replied. "Coming to town with that would definitely get his attention, though I'm not sure if it'd be good or bad. That Mark II was ours to begin with, from what I understand. He might want it back," she said, looking it over. "It's a different color than one Rusty has, but it is a similar design." "Well, I can't give it back. And even if I could, I wouldn't," I said, pulling my foreleg away. "But it belongs to us. Are you telling me you're a thief?" "No, it was given to me. Now, can you get me into Trotzdon or not?" "I can try. But Rusty's the only one who can let you in." Her eyes finally looked over my group, and her ears fell back. I'm not sure how you feel about your friends, though. Aura bristled. What, you got a problem with griffins? The filly looked like she was crazy. No, we have a problem with outsiders. And I don't like the looks of that weird Pegasus with you. She looks like she has bat wings. Wind Thrasher sank back further into the darkness of the bar. I watched her, then said, She does, but don't worry about her. She's very nice. If you say so. My name's Bite, by the way, in case you didn't hear. I'm Shadow. The colt is Wingnut, the griffin's Aura, and Wind Thrasher's the one hiding behind Aura, I said, pointing out my friends. Nice to meet you all. Well, might as well follow me to the gate. I'll see if Rusty has time to meet you, she said, stepping over to one of the stallions and out the door. Wow, she's a weird filly, Wingnut said. Did you see what she did? Also, did you hear her call me a bug? What kind of pony calls another pony a bug? Sure, she's weird, but I'm starting to think every pony is weird out here, I said, following Bite. She led us down the road towards Trotston's main gate. As I drew closer to the town and its walls, I was even more impressed with how tall the walls were. Not just how tall it is, but the armaments I could see at the top. The little white turrets were set up every few feet along the walls, with guard ponies walking between them, holding huge sniper rifles. As we drew closer, I moved closer to Bite, asking, So, why were you outside the city looking for that stallion? She shrugged. Thought it was obvious. He owed me caps and didn't want to pay them back. So I went to collect. Sounds fair, Aura said nonchalantly. Never let anyone get away with not paying up. I got what I wanted, though. The Wingnut didn't need to kill him. Stupid bug. She looked back at the colt, glaring. Wingnut frowned. Hey, I saved your life. Get over yourself. And stop calling me that. She stuck her tongue out at him. Never. Then looked back over at me. Why are you all in that nasty place anyway? Isn't that really for ponies like you? We were trying to figure out a way to get into town. Figured it was a good place to rest and plan. Well, that was a stupid idea. If you want into Trotston, you have to go through the gate and ask to see Rusty. That's the only way in, Bite said. What about from air? Aura asked. The wall has a force field around the top. Keeps the flyers out. Of all kinds, she replied. Now that we were coming up to the gate, and one of the guard ponies walked over to us. Bite, what are you doing outside the gate? How did you even get out? Do you know what Rusty would do if he ever caught you outside again? Shut up and let me in, she said, walking past him. Who are the outsiders? He asked, looking back at us. They want to talk with Rusty. The short one has something he'll be interested in, she said, walking towards the gate. Right then, the guard noticed Wind Thrasher and he pulled out his rifle. Oh shit, it can't be! The other guard, who was younger, looked confused as he pulled out his rifle too. What's going on? The first guard pointed his rifle at Wind Thrasher, saying around the bit, Don't move! I don't know how you got free, but we aren't letting you get anywhere near the town. I stepped between the guard and Wind Thrasher, who was doing her best to look as small as possible. She's with me. Please put the thing down before you hurt yourself. Who do you think you are to tell me what to do? You have no idea who that pony is. I'm the one who let out of Stable 9, so yes, I do know who she is. I also know what really happened to her, and I won't let anyone hurt her. She's my friend, and she took a big risk coming here with me. Bite was looking at us differently now. She actually looked scared. Wait, that bat pony's the one Rusty told us about from the old stable? I nodded. Yes, she is, but she's not bad. I'll explain everything when I can talk to Rusty. The gate opened right then, only a little, and a light purple stallion with a dull red mane walked out. He was wearing Stable 9 security barding, with a twin laser battle saddle. He had a nasty scar over his right eye, which was missing. His remaining eye was a deep jade color. As he walked out, he spoke with a light yet commanding voice. What's going on here? Both the security ponies lowered their weapons, and the first one said, "Sir, we have a problem." His eye fell on Windthrasher, and his hard face darkened. "I can see that. Now how in Celestia's name did you get free, Windthrasher?" She stood taller, but her eyes didn't meet the older stallion's as she spoke. "Shadow broke into Stable 9. She killed Dr. Cell and released me from his control." His hard gaze fell on me. "I assume you're Shadow, then." I didn't back down. "I am." "I heard that the courier blew up our old stable. Was that a lie, or are you her?" "I am the courier. Yes, I blew up your old stable to kill the bloodwings that were infesting the place. I'm sure you know all about them," I replied. He smiled a little. "I owe you a thanks for that. My town has been scared for 20 years that something was going to be going on with that homicidal maniac, and he would figure a way out of the prison. Though, I'll have to ask you how you're able to get into the stable." "It would be better if we could talk privately," I said, looking over at his two guards. "I can explain more on the way." He looked back at Windthrasher, then said, "I can do that, but I would suggest that Windthrasher stay out here. There are still a lot of ponies who remember that horrible day back in the stable." Aura shook her head. "Where we go, Windthrasher goes. She's not going to hurt anyone in the town." Windthrasher nodded, adding, "I came here to try and earn your forgiveness for what I did." He sighed. "I'm still not sure that's a great idea. There's no real reason why I should even let you come into town, even if I do want to hear this story." I sighed, then lifted my pip buck up a little so we could see it. "Trust me, you'll want to let us in." His eyes widened. "How'd you—" "Never mind. You're right." He took a second to think, then said, "Fine. Windthrasher and your friends can come in, but you have to stay with me while you're here until I say otherwise. And Windthrasher, if any pony says anything to you, stay quiet." She nodded. "I can do that, Rusty." "Good. Now follow me." He turns, heading back in. When he passed by Bite, he stopped and said, "You're coming too, Cookie." For the first time since we met her, she acted like a kid. "Don't call me Cookie! I hate it! Call me Bite!" "Cookie Bite is your name, and I'm the pony who's in charge of you. No matter how smart you are, I call you what I want. Now come along. You have some explaining to do as well." Bite hung her head and followed him, same for the rest of us. We all walked past the town into Trotston. As we walked past the gate, my eyes widened at what I saw. But now I'd gotten used to what to expect when I walked into a town. The wasteland was an unforgiving place. Ponies had to deal with the monsters and crazy ponies on a daily basis. The land didn't make it easy to grow anything, so food was hard to come by too. The towns were small, with some exceptions like Freedom and the Strip, but they weren't safe and looked crude. Trotston didn't look anything like that. I should have guessed that just by the large wall around the city, but I still wouldn't have ever expected this. The buildings were all set up the same. They weren't big, but they were built with care and by ponies who seemed to know what they were doing. They weren't built however they could find in the wasteland. No, the walls were expertly crafted with wood and metal. Not a single building had a broken window or a missing door. In the distance, I could see even taller buildings that looked like they were pure steel. The ponies here weren't dirty and haggard. They looked healthy and clean. They were happy. I could see ponies walking in small groups, chatting and laughing. They weren't armed like I'd expect either. It was almost like stepping into the past, apart from the fact that most of them were wearing Stable 9 barding. "Is everyone here from Stable 9? I asked as we walked down the main road that led right down the center of town. While we walked, I saw a couple of Mr. Handys floating around, a mare helping her with something. "Most of us are, yes. But over the years, we've let in different ponies to help keep the population from becoming inbred. The stable was set up to keep that from happening, but with the loss of so many, we had to do something. We don't let just anyone in, however. They have to be able to bring something good to the town to help us grow and expand, as I'm sure you can see." Rusty replied. As we walked deeper into town, the ponies around us stopped what they were doing to watch the newcomers. The ones wearing stable barding, I noticed, looked at Windthrasher with fear in their eyes. One stallion looked angry, and he started making his way towards us. But Rusty gave him a dangerous look that turned him around, and he ran off. When the stallion was gone, Rusty turned and kept going. Aura moved closer to me. I don't like the way some of these ponies are looking at us. Me either. But we can't do anything right now. I'm sure they're just scared of us. We don't look like your normal group of ponies. Or griffins, I guess. I said, trying not to let staring get to me. Rusty stepped in front of a tall home that was set into the hill looking out the rest of Trotston. No, the reason they're looking at you the way they are is because of Windthrasher. Like I said, most of the ponies here haven't forgotten what has happened. Now let's head inside before something happens. He opened the door and let us all inside. To my surprise, the home was quite modest for a pony who led such a magnificent town. There were 2 rooms that, off to one side, a living room and a set of stairs. He led us to a larger office with a big desk at one end, an overmare's desk. He moved around the desk and sat down, looking over us. So, where should we begin? He asked. Windthrasher moved closer to the desk. I think we need to clear the air, Rusty Shackles. I was thinking the same thing, Windthrasher. I remember what happened back there, but you aren't acting like the same mayor who attacked the population of our old home. Tell me everything that happened to you, because the last thing I remember was you getting taken to medical after you got electrocuted by the generators, he said. Mom talked to Dr. Sell about what happened, and begged him to do anything he could to save me, she started to say. Rusty interrupted. Is that what she told you, or what Dr. Sell told you? I heard something on a recording of hers, and Dr. Sell told me as much too. Well, I can tell you that he lied to you. It is true that your mother wanted him to help, but you were supposed to stay in medical. The Overmare had intel that he'd been working on something dangerous. We were about to take him down with some of the intel we had on him. That was until you got hurt. Dr. Sell took you and hid away his lab for hours. Your mother didn't even know until it was too late. Windthrasher seemed to shrink a little. It looked like memories from back then were coming back to her. I don't remember much, but when I woke, I was like this, with a collar around my neck. I could move and stuff, but when Dr. Sell gave me a command, I couldn't say no. I had to do it. He showed me it to Mom, and then he stabbed her. After that, he ordered me to kill as many ponies as I could, until they learned who the new boss was. I wanted to stop, but I had no choice. I figured as much. What you don't know is that before the Overmare died, she knew something was going to happen. She called me to her office and gave me her pip buck. She told me to lock down the stable with it after ponies got away. She wouldn't tell me why, but she said to evacuate the stable right away. I did what she asked, but I wasn't fast enough. I saw your attack, and when I knew no other ponies would make it out before you came after us, I sealed the doors using her pip buck. Funny thing, though, before I left, your mother told me something. What was that? She said that one day, you'd find a way to get free, and she hoped you did. She said that if you ever found me, I should forgive you for your sins. I don't know how, but she knew what was going to happen. Windthrasher teared up as she said, That was like Mom. She always had a gift of foresight, especially when bad things were going on. It made her an amazing Overmare. Rusty smiled. That it did. Windthrasher, you were very young when this all happened. I'm not sure if you knew, but I had feelings for your mother, and when she died, it was very hard on me. Even more so when I lost you, because I hoped that you would be my daughter one day. I wanted you to know that I don't hold any grudges against you for what happened, though I can't say the same for the rest of Trotston. I'll have to talk to them and try to get them to understand. She hung her head. I wasn't expecting much when I got here. What I really wanted was to be able to say I was sorry for what I did. I may have been under control, but I still did what I did. He let out a long sigh. I hate to say it, but a sorry won't fix what happened, Windthrasher. Ponies around here won't come around so easily. If it wasn't for me, they would have attacked you as soon as you walked into town. I think after today you shouldn't even try and come back here. It'll be safer for you. Wingnut spoke up. Aren't you the leader of this town? Why can't you just tell them to leave her be? Bite spoke up next. It doesn't work like that here, Bug. Rusty runs the town, but he doesn't go around telling ponies what to do. There's a whole chain of command and laws to follow. She's right. After the stable, we didn't want everything to go through one pony like an overmare. With that said, the only way Wind Thrasher would be able to win over the ponies from the old stable is if she showed them that she's not the monster they think she is. Problem is, no pony will give her the chance. It'd be better if she left once we're done here, Rusty said. That's bullshit, I started to say, but Wind Thrasher cut me off. It's fine. I understand. I gotta say my piece to Rusty, and I don't want to make things hard for the ponies here. I'm just happy I was able to see my stable still alive and well. I never planned on staying here as it is. Aura smiled at that. I don't blame you, Wind Thrasher. I feel the same with my home. It's nice to see old faces, but there's so much more in the world to explore. Well, I'm glad we have that settled, Rusty said, looking over at me. Now, Shadow, would you mind telling me how you found the Overmare's pip-buck? I found it in the bowels of my stable, I said, not wanting to tell him everything just yet. Odd that it was in a stable, seeing as how it was stolen from here 12 years ago. What stable are you from, anyway? Stable 28. Do you know who left it there? I sighed and gave up. My mother left it for me. She hid it down there before she ran away from our stable 8 years ago. He smiled and leaned back. That's what I thought. So that mare was your mother? Yeah, but I don't know anything about how she got it. All I know is she got it off a pony from here and used it to hide files on. He looked thoughtful for a moment. Yes, that makes sense. She originally came here looking for information on the Children of the Night. I let her in because she was an extremely gifted unicorn, and I figured she could help us with a few things while she was looking into some of our memory orbs. So, she didn't come here looking for the Mark II. She was looking for information about Night Stalker and his group? I asked. At the mention of Night Stalker, Rusty's face looked like he had just bitten into a lemon. How do you know who Night Stalker is? I shrugged, but Aura answered. She has a habit of losing herself in memory orbs. She's overly curious. Kinda like a house cat. I do not. I mean, I find them interesting, and I have found a few that he keeps showing up in. Why is that such a big idea? Every time I find ponies that know who he is, they all have the same reaction. I understand he wasn't a good pony, but what did he do that was so bad apart from starting the Enclave? Bite was the one who answered, since Rusty seemed to be in shock. The old stable has a lot of memory orbs and files about Night Stalker in it, from what Rusty told me. Trotston knows a lot about him. He wasn't just known for starting the Enclave or helping put up the Cloud Layer. His team was believed to be the reason Equestria lost the war. Wait, how could one pony do that? I asked. It wasn't just him, Rusty said, finally snapping out of it. He was very close to Princess Luna, and knew everything that was going on in the war. His team, aka the Children of the Night, had their hooves in every ministry, but they only answered to the Ministry of Awesome. They went around everything, even the OIA, to get what they wanted done. From what they've learned, they were the ones who came up with the design for the Lucky Horseshoe, but I'm not sure for what. We know that right before the war ended, Luna had most of his memories copied into memory orbs. That's why we had some in our stable. There was even a story that he was cursed or something. After a raid on a house that belonged to a high-ranking pony in the military, Night Stalker's team started to die or get badly hurt in battle. It turned him into a hard and distrustful pony. Bite continued. What I don't understand is, why are some of his memory orbs put into your stable? I asked, getting more confused by the second. I mean, what's the point of leaving them in a stable in the first place? I guess you should know, seeing as how you've got a Mark II, Rusty said simply. It's because we had to know as much as we could about him, just in case him or ponies that took over after his death came looking for the Mark II. What do they have to do with him or his team? Aura asked. The Mach II wasn't put into our stable to test anything, or to make life easier for the three heads of the stable. No, stable tech was hiding them from him. From what they were told, one of the three ponies who ran stable tech used one of the Mach IIs to lock something down that Night Stalker was using. They hid them in the stable so he could never activate that program again. Since only another Mach II can undo what the other locked, they had to hide all three. So they were so worried about it, why not just destroy them? Wingnut asked. Rusty chuckled. From what I've learned about Apple Bloom, I'm not sure she could have ever destroyed anything that she put so much time into creating. Also, they were worried about by destroying them, the system would unlock. With the broadcaster installed, it was possible, so they did the next best thing. I looked down at my pip buck. You mean one of them was used to lock down a program Night Stalker wanted? Is that why so many ponies are after it? He nodded. If any pony knows what they can do, I'd guess that's why they want it. Or they want the files that are on it. I can't say for sure. But I do know that your mother wanted one, once she learned from my sister who had the pip buck you have now. I don't know why, because once she had her hooves on it, she took off. How did she get it away from your sister? I thought you could only remove them by doing something special, at least that's what Nexus told me. There is a trick to get it off, he said, showing off his own pip buck. It was also a Mark II like my own. It was gold with pink lines running down it like my own. My sister knew how to remove them. From the story I was told, she lost a bet with Grimoire, and she had to show her how to remove it. After she did, your mother stole it and ran off. My sister was very upset about that, and hired the Red Talons to hunt her down. Aura interjected. Since I never heard about Shadow's mom getting captured by the Talons, and Shadow has the pip buck, I take it your sister dropped the contract? A sad look came over Rusty's face. She was killed a couple weeks ago by a pony from the Sins. His name was Pride. Aura's expression changed, and she looked sad now. With her dead, the contract was dropped then. That it was. I would have paid to have it to continue, but I was afraid that Pony would come back here. Our walls and protection didn't matter. He got in without any problems. He came looking for my only sister, and once he found her, he cut her head off. We never found out why the Sins wanted her dead. I hung my head as I thought about Pride. He really was a monster. I'm sorry for what happened to your sister. It's not your fault, Shadow. It's possible that my sister did something that pissed the Enclave off. She wasn't one to just stay in town. She was a warrior and loved to go out into the wasteland. She was known for causing problems, and life just caught up with her in the end. Luckily, her daughter wasn't harmed, Rusty said, looking over at Bite. She huffed. That asshole killed my mom and left her head on our doorstep. I'm glad that some pony killed him. At least one good thing came out of Pride's death. I smiled a little, then asked, what else do you know about the Mark IIs? Quite a lot. Since we settled here, we've used what we know from our stable and put that into knowledge into researching all kinds of pre-war tech, including the Mark IIs. In the larger building next to the hill, we have our research center, and my best scientists went over every detail of my own Mark II. We found a lot of things in it that aren't normal in the Pip-Buck 3000s, as I'm sure you realized. I nodded. Nexus told me the things he knew about them. I took a moment to explain everything I learned from the ghoul. He sat back and nodded as he listened, finally saying, this Nexus seems to know a lot about what he's talking about. That's most of what we've learned about them as well. But one thing, it seems, that he missed is the fact that they're linked. Wait, what do you mean that they're linked? I asked. The Mark IIs are linked, just as I said. The founding members of Stabletech used to keep them with files on them for new projects and stables between themselves. The problem with that is that they are all busy mares. Apple Bloom was always busy with some new project running Apple Bloom, Stabletech, Scootaloo was the president of Red Racer and the vice president of Stapletech. And there was Sweetie Belle. She was a famous singer and the face of Stapletech. All three didn't have much time to meet up and go over their plans, and on top of that, the ministries were always giving them trouble. It was believed that the MOM was spying on them all the time. So, when Applebloom made the Mark II, she made sure they were all linked at all times. This way, all three of them could stay in touch with each other without any problems between the ministries. Wingnut spoke up. So, what does that mean? They can all find each other or something? Not really. They couldn't just find one of the other Mark IIs anytime they wanted. But if one of the ponies who have one wanted to, they could give off a signal letting the others know where they are. Being linked, though, that they could send files between them to each other, no matter where they were in Equestria. They seemed to hijack the signal from the MAS EBS towers. They could also be used for direct communications. How does that help me? I asked. He shrugged. I couldn't say. But you said you wanted to know what I knew about them, and that's it. This Nexus told you the rest about what I know. I sighed. I don't know why I even bothered coming here then. I was hoping I could learn about my mom or why this thing mattered so much. That doesn't help at all. No, Shadow. You did learn a little bit more about your mother, and how she got her hooves on the pit buck. Wingnut said, giving me a smile. That's true. Thanks, kiddo, I said, smiling back at him. Well, Rusty, thank you for letting me know, and letting me into your town and speaking with me. It was the least I could do. You did a good thing taking care of Stable 9 and making sure that the threat of Dr. Cell didn't escape it. He looked towards Windthrasher. And even though you may not believe me, thank you for helping Windthrasher too. I hope that she'll have an even better life now. Isn't there any way you could help the other ponies understand that she's not a threat? I asked. It's okay, Shadow, Windthrasher said. No, it's not. I know what it's like to not be accepted because of who you are. Ponies need to understand that you weren't responsible for what happened back in your stable. I understand what you're coming from, Shadow. But I can't just magically change the minds of hundreds of ponies, Rusty said. Windthrasher got to her hooves. You don't need to, Rusty. I don't plan on staying anyway. I don't even see myself coming back here. He looked back over at me. Are we finished here, Shadow? I nodded. We shouldn't stay too long. It's getting late, and I need to head towards Spitfire's Flight Academy. Rusty's face darkened. You're going where? Spitfire's Flight Academy? Why? Do you have some kind of death wish or something? The ponies from there are nuts and trigger happy as hell. Ever since we started Trotston, we've had problems with them. If it wasn't for our numbers and defenses, they would have taken us out a long time ago, Rusty replied. Why do those nutjobs have a problem with Trotston? Aura asked. Bite rolled her eyes. Because the stable inside the hill was where the Annihilators came from. Even though they don't live in the stable anymore, they still see it as theirs. So they want you dead so they can have their stable back? Wingnut asked. That's so fucking stupid. I don't know. To a stable pony, no matter what, the stable is still home. I've been away from my stable for a while now, and I do hate the place, but to me it is still home, I said. And we understand that. But when we found Stable 23 was abandoned and still livable. They don't need it, and we do. And yes, that's why they want us gone, Rusty said. Be that as it may, I still need to go there. Before you say something about getting too close to them, don't worry, I have that covered. I'd ask how, but honestly, I don't want to know. I'd be happy with having them leave us alone, Rusty said. I got up as well. We should head out. Rusty stood. Why don't you all stay here for the night? It's getting late anyways, and I'd hate to have something happen to you in the dark. We're good. There aren't many things out there that we're scared of, Aura said. Wingnut let a yawn. I don't know, Aura. I'm still beat, and a good night's sleep in a safe place would be nice. Aura sighed and laughed. You're so helpless sometimes, boss. I suppose we can stay. Not that I don't mind the hospitality, but didn't you say it wasn't a good idea for Thrasher to stay here? I asked Rusty. It isn't, but I'm not going to just kick you out either. Nothing bad'll happen while you're under my roof. I have a couple of extra rooms upstairs. Bite looked pissed. Hey, one of those rooms is mine, Rusty. Yes, I know. And you can share it for a night with the girls. We'll let Wingnut use the other room, Rusty said, glaring at her. You're lucky I haven't taken away your lab time for leaving town like you did. There's no need for that. We can all sleep in one room, I said. No, I insist. Plus, the other room is small and can't fit more than 1 or 2 ponies. But I don't want to sleep by myself, Wingnut said quietly. What? Are you scared or something? Don't be a crybaby, Bite said. Shut up, Wingnut said, glaring over at her. Yeah, I'll stay with you, Wingnut. I should stay close anyway, Aura said, sounding as if she was going to punch the little bitch if she said anything else. Rusty chuckled. I don't think you'll fit well in there, sadly. Windthrasher walked over to him. I'll stay with you, Wingnut. I don't take up too much space. What's the big deal with sleeping alone? Bite asked. Not like anything can get you in the dark. If you want to survive in the wasteland, you have to grow up. The look Wingnut had on his face surprised me. I was expecting to get mad, but he didn't. Tears came to his eyes, and he looked away, whispering quietly. That's how my parents died. Before we could say anything, he ran upstairs. Aura was about to go after him, but I stopped her. No, let me go to him, Aura. I glared over at Bite. Next time, watch your tongue. Not waiting for her snarky response, I made my way up to the stairs and found Wingnut sitting in the hall sniffing, and trying to hide tears that were flowing down his face. When he saw me, he turned around. Go away, Shadow. I want to be left alone. Ignoring him, I walked over and sat next to him. What about the whole I don't want to be alone at night thing you just had a fit over? I smiled wittingly and got a chuckle out of him. Besides, you know you can't get rid of me that easily, Wingnut. Tell me what's wrong. Nothing. I'm fine. Sure. That's why you left like you did. You're smart, but you're not a good liar, kid. Maybe talking about it will make you feel better. He wiped tears from his eyes. You know how I told you that I'm afraid of the dark because monsters live there? Yeah? I'm not scared of the dark because I'm an ignorant kid or something stupid like that. You see, my parents were traders. They ran their own caravan and everything. They taught me a lot about fighting and staying safe in the wasteland. One day we were staying just outside of Appleton, not far from Halo 1. We found a small cave for shelter. I'm not sure why, but my parents didn't want to go into town. I was still very young, but I remember it like it was yesterday. Something came out of the darkness and attacked us. Mom told me to run as Dad tried to fight it. I just made it outside of the cave when I heard my mom scream. Whatever it was, it killed them both. Ever since that night, I've always been scared that it would come back and kill me, he said, sounding like he was trying to hold back a little. I hugged him. That would scare anyone, Wingnut. I don't blame you for being scared of something like that. I know. And I also know what you're thinking. And no, it wasn't pride. It was some kind of monster. I saw enough of it to know that. And the sounds it made weren't pony noises. Are you sure about that? I asked. He nodded. My parents didn't work with anyone from the Enclave, so the Sins wouldn't have had any reason to go after them. Whatever it was, it wanted something, but I never found out what. I hadn't gone back there since the night it happened. I saw how Pride fought, and it was nothing like that thing. It was a wild animal of some kind, though I'd never seen or heard of it before. So that's why you worry so much about darkness? I understand. Well, if you're really that scared, then one of us will stay with you. If you don't want Windthrasher to, I won't mind. No, I'll be fine with Windthrasher. She's nice. I also think it'd be a good idea if you stay with Aura. That caught me by surprise. Why? She seems to sleep better when you're around. She couldn't sleep at all when you were missing, and while you were still being worked on by Dr. Cottage. She didn't get a good night's sleep until you were out of the woods. She won't say it, but she worries about you a lot. She's my friend, and I am one of the only ponies she trusts. So, yeah, I can understand that. Well, if you're okay with that, then so am I. Also, try and remember that you can always talk to me about things that are bothering you. He smiled. I know. I'll try and remember next time. But you have to do the same with us. Okay? I will. Wind Thresher came up a moment later. Is everything okay? Yeah, we figured it out, I replied. Are you sure you'll be okay staying here tonight? We really don't know what to expect here. Yes. I might have been scared to see Rusty again, but he's always been an honest pony. Out of any pony from my old stable, I can trust him. I'm also tired. So I was up all day talking with the Queen, then coming here. It's been a stressful day. I could use a good night's sleep. Rusty's voice came up from downstairs. If everything's fine up there, then why don't you all head off to bed? I have things to take care of, and you should all get up early and head out while most of the town is still asleep. That sounds like a plan, I said, looking down at him from the top of the steps. Bite and Nora came up the stairs, and after pointing out which door in the room was for Wingnut and Wind Thresher, she led us to her room. Before following her, I gave a smile to Wingnut. Sleep well, kiddo. You too, Shadow. Thanks again. When I walked into the other room, I was kind of shocked. Is this a room or a research center? I asked. The room looked like Nexus set up shop in here. Terminals, wires, and half-completed projects filled every desk and most of the floor of the large room, although it was cleaner than Nexus's room was. There was still plenty of room for the three of us. There was even a large bed on one side, and the floor didn't look so bad to sleep on. Rusty doesn't like me going off to the labs all the time. He says I get in the way of the staff down there. I just think they're scared of me, she said, walking over towards one of her terminals. You two can sleep wherever you want. I don't normally sleep much at night, and I don't need the bed. I'll most likely pass out in my chair. Won't argue with that, Aura said, walking over and laying on the bed. She set her spear and bags down on the floor next to her, rolled over, and put her head back towards us. I should be used to sleeping on the floor by now, I said, walking over to lay on a few blankets that were piled up on one end of the bed. Once I was settled in, I looked over towards Bite. She'd pulled out that pistol thing again. She was pulling something off of it and mumbling to herself. What is that thing anyway? It's a gravity gun. It's a gun that manipulates the pull of gravity and repels enemies with great force. It's a non-lethal way to bring down an enemy. So it's a gun that blows ponies away without killing them? If you want to put it simply, yes. It seemed to work fine during that fight. Why are you taking it apart? She rolled her eyes and set down the screwdriver she was holding in her muzzle. Because it's still using too much energy for each blast. I can only fire it once or twice before I have to reload another energy cell. It's also still giving off too much power with each blast. I need to tweak it a bit to make it more perfect. Well, that's kind of a cool gun, I guess. Though I can't see how it'd be much use in the wasteland. It's not for the wasteland. It's for Trotston. Now and then we have problems with some of the ponies around here, and having something like this will help you keep down casualties, she said, pulling off one of the wires, looking it over, then tossing it into a pile behind her. You should go to sleep. I need to concentrate on this, and talking to you isn't helping. I shrugged and closed my eyes. She had a point, and even though I'd been out of it for a week, I was still tired, and honestly, my body still hurt. It didn't take long for sleep to come. Cuddled up on the soft, commutable blankets. Helped a lot. I almost felt as if I was back in my room in Stable 28. I was in the middle of a nice, pleasant dream. Something to do with milkshake. I'm not sure if it was a memory or something that I just wished happened back in the stable, but I was enjoying myself when some pony woke me up. I opened my eyes, looking around for the voice that pulled me out of the nice dream, which was rare, damn it. I blinked slowly and peered into the darkness, looking towards where I'd last seen Bite. She was sleeping in her chair, her head lying on the table, a screwdriver sitting next to her muzzle. It wasn't her, then so who woke me? No. Please don't make me do this, Aura said from the bed. Looking over, I saw that she was still lying on her side. She was kicking at something as her talons shook. Her eyes were still closed, but she looked scared, and those tears I saw? Was she dreaming? What are you doing, Trip? What did you do? She said in her sleep, her voice getting louder. I got up and moved next to the bed. Aura, wake up, you're having a nightmare. Stop! She screamed. I jumped and looked back at Bite. She was still sleeping like nothing was going on. Looking back at my friend, I started to shake her. Aura, wake up. Come on. I don't want to do this. Please stop, Trip. She said quieter this time. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I could see Aura was tearing up more, so much so that it seemed to stream down her beak. I tried shaking her again to wake her up. Aura, it's okay. Please, just wake up. It's just a dream. For a moment, she stopped moving, and I thought she was finally going to be okay. Then she started to twitch again. This time, she started saying something different. What did I do wrong? I said I'd protect her, and she left me. I thought I could protect her. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have told you more before. Now you're gone too. Just like her. Why does everyone leave me? I just want one friend. She was still dreaming, I could tell. But who was she talking about now? I moved my hoof to her chest and shook her again. Please wake up, Aura. Her talon came up and took hold of my foreleg. Not hard or threatening. It was more like she was reaching for some kind of comfort. Her head turned a little, and she kept talking, her voice going quiet. So quiet that I had to lean in to catch what she said next. Shadow, please come back. I'll do better at being your friend. Just come back. I can't be alone again. I felt my heart skip a beat. What was she saying? Did me leaving hurt her so much? I didn't even know what to do. She seemed trapped in her own special kind of nightmare. So I leaned closer and said to her, I'm still here, Aura. I'm right here with you, like you've always been for me. I won't leave you again. You're my friend. I noticed as I talked to her that her body was starting to relax. I tried to put my hoof around her, but as I did, she started to shake again. With a sigh, I crawled up next to her and laid my head on the soft feathers of her chest. I wrapped my hoof around her and just let my presence comfort her. As I did, she started to relax more, and her breathing slowed as she drifted back into a more peaceful sleep. Her tears looked like they were drying up. I wish I knew what was going on in the head of yours sometimes, Aura, I said as I slowly closed my eyes. Shadow, what's going on? I heard Aura say. I looked up at her and into her confused, icy blue eyes, a little red from crying, and blushed. You had a bad dream. I couldn't get you to wake up, and this seemed to help calm you down. I'm sorry, I didn't know what else to do. I'll go back to my blankets. I started to pull away, but Aura's grip tightened. Her voice stayed quiet as she said, No, it's okay. I don't mind. I was just surprised is all. I moved closer and rested my head back on her chest, oddly finding myself feeling better as I did. We both laid there for a few minutes, just listening to the sounds of the house. Finally, I asked, What were you dreaming about? You seemed really scared. And sad. I've never seen you like that before. I felt her tense up, and she said, Tripwire's death. At least I think I was. You kept saying, please don't make you do something. What did you mean? Not tonight, Shadow. I can't talk about that right now. It hurts too much. And after that dream, I don't want to think about that night. Can we just lay here, please? Her voice was so soft and fragile. Sure thing, I said, closing my eyes again. Aura, I'm sorry I left like I did. Thank you. I know why you had to do it and all, but thank you for saying it. I don't like being alone, Shadow, and it hurt a lot when I found that note. I thought I did something wrong. I hated that feeling. I know. I wish I could have done something more to tell you what happened. Even with that said, I still feel bad for everything that happened. I felt her turn a little as she shifted into a better position. Her other talon came around and she pulled me closer, hugging me to her chest. As she did, my heart started to pound in my chest and I felt myself blush. Why? This is Aura, the cranky Griffin bodyguard. She was hard and mean with a little soft side now and then, but who was this? Was this the Aura that Tripwire knew? I'm sorry about Silver Snip. I know how much that hurts. You may think that you're okay right now, but you're not. Trust me. Sooner or later, out of nowhere, it'll hit you again. You'll have to deal with that pain and loss. And it'll feel like your heart is breaking all over again. When that happens, you can come talk to me. No matter if you need to yell or rant or to cry, I'll be there for you, Shadow. Because I know that pain. As she spoke, flashes of Silver's face flooded into my mind. Aura was right, and the more she spoke, the more the hurt building inside me grew. The anger was still there, the pain in not being able to stop what happened, the hole I felt in my heart from the loss that was almost normal in my life. I had no family, no real home, no memories of who I really was, and I had lost the pony who cared about me more than herself. I pressed my face into Aura's chest and took a deep, steady breaths as I said, "It wasn't fair." Yeah, I know. Why does everyone leave me, Aura? She chuckled a little. It wasn't a happy laugh. It was more hurt and understanding. I wish I could answer that for you, Shadow. At least you have me and Wingnut. And don't forget Wind Thrasher and Stardust. We'll always be there for you, no matter what. Yeah, I know that now. I just wish I could stop bad things from happening to the ponies that I love. Everyone dies, Shadow. You can't fix that. When your time is up, you can't stop it. It hurts, but that's the way life goes. And that's why you have to cherish the time you get with everyone. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. What I wanted to do was fall asleep and forget everything that had happened, at least for a while. I wanted to just forget about finding Silver's body, forgetting the sight of Stardust being taken, forget the memory of waking up that day when Auntie told me Mom was gone. At this moment, all I really wanted to do was last forever. If time was to just stop right now, I wouldn't have to be so scared the next day. The next horror the wasteland was going to throw at me, I wouldn't have to think about what was going to happen to Stardust. Aura spoke up again. Thank you, Shadow. I know I don't show emotions much, but I needed this. Aura, what is this anyway? She stopped me before I could keep going, by pressing one claw against my lips. Don't talk anymore, okay? It's nothing more than two friends giving each other comfort. Tomorrow is a new day, and everything else is in the past. Right now, let's just pretend that for a moment, that nothing bad happened, and everything's going to be okay. When tomorrow comes, this never happened. Just help me feel normal, even if it's just for a night. And that's all I want. She was right. She was just helping me get through what happened to Silver. And I was just a pony who cared about her that could make her remember better days. I smiled and let my eyes close again. I felt my body relax against the griffins, and sleep wasn't far away. Aura's free talon moved up to slowly run down my mane, letting the long braid flow through her digits as she started to pass out herself. As I was just about to give in to sleep's embrace, I caught a small whisper from Aura. Why can't I tell her? Why am I such a coward? I woke up, again, finding myself on the bed still. I looked around for Aura, but she wasn't there. Did I just dream that what happened last night? I pushed myself into a sitting position and looked around. Bite was gone as well, and I couldn't see Aura either. Maybe it was just a dream and I wandered into the bed in the middle of the night. As I reached up to stretch, a couple of black feathers fell from my head. Reaching up, I felt a couple more stuck on my horn. My hooves moved down my mane, and I felt my braid was messed up. It must have been from Aura running her sharp talons through it last night. I didn't even know what to think about what I remembered. I hadn't even seen my friend in such a delicate state before. I guess we all have our limits, and Aura had finally reached hers, and she couldn't help breaking down. I remember our conversation when she'd finally woken up and smiled a little. I was surprised how much better I felt after talking to her. I hadn't been able to do that since I left the stable. Back then, when I was feeling low, I'd go over to milkshakes and let out my frustrations and feelings. She would always listen to me and tell me whatever she could to make me feel better as well. For a moment there, I thought Aura was trying to tell me something or show me something more about herself. But that couldn't have been just my imagination. She was my friend, nothing more, and I had to remember that. "Are you finally up?" I heard Aura's voice say from the doorway. Looking over at her, I saw that she was ready to go. I stretched and said, "Yeah, but why'd you let me sleep in?" "Come on, Shadow. When have you ever been a morning pony? Waking you up is like trying to change the weather. It ain't gonna happen." I got up and pulled my barding on. I noticed that it was starting to look more worn from the few holes and dings it had from the past few fights. I'd have to get somewhere that I could get fixed soon, before it became as useless as my old duster. It was the last gift Silver left for me apart from her message, and I wouldn't let it get ruined. "Sorry I slept so late. Are the others ready to go?" I said, picking up my saddlebags and walking towards the door. "For the most part, yes. But Rusty isn't letting us go outside just yet. Something to do with the ponies making a fuss outside." "Did something happen?" "No idea. But from the sounds of it, it's just a couple ponies who saw Wind Thrasher yesterday and aren't too happy right now. The sooner we can get out of Trotstead, the better," she said, turning her head towards the stairs. "Aura, can we talk about what happened last night?" I said before she could have a chance to run down the stairs. She looked back at me and frowned. "I don't know what you're talking about, Shrimp." "Don't do that, Aura. Don't shut down on me now." She sighed. "I was in a bad place last night, and so were you. I haven't slept much in the past few days, and the stress got to me. It's in the past now, and we both promised not to dwell on things that happened in the past, remember? Today's a new day, and we have things that we need to do." I saw something in her eyes. They weren't the hard look she normally had. It was almost like she was trying to say something else to me with that desperate look. She looks like she wants to tell me to let it go for now, not to push her too much, because she wasn't ready to talk about last night. She was right, too. There was too much to do. As much as I wanted to understand, I had to drop it, because her eyes also told me that if I asked her again, she'd tell me what was bothering her, what she was really thinking. But it wouldn't be right. She'd talk when she was ready. At least I hope she does. So I smiled. "You're right. Sorry I brought it up." I walked past her, stopping only for a moment to say, "If something's bothering you, and you need to get it off your chest, you can tell me. You might be surprised what could happen when you tell the truth. No matter what, I'm here for you, and I'm not going anywhere." "Shadow, let's get going. I want to get this next part over with as soon as possible. I don't want to keep the others waiting," I said, continuing on and going down the stairs. As I did, she said, "Thank you." I didn't let her see my small smile as I reached the bottom of the stairs and saw Wingnut and Wind Thrasher waiting by the door. Bite was sitting in a corner, still fiddling with her gravity gun. I looked around and asked, "Where's Rusty?" "Outside, talking to some of the ponies from the stable. I guess they know I'm here, and they sound pissed," Wind Thrasher said, one of her ears standing straight up and cocked towards the door. I moved closer to the door and heard the voices shouting from outside. I took a moment to check Dreamwalker, and I opened up the door and walked out. There was more than a couple ponies standing outside of Rusty's home. All of them had modified versions of Stable 9's barding, each one holding some kind of weapon. Most of them were crude and not well taken care of, but a couple looked new and well maintained. I stepped up next to Rusty while one of the stallions was yelling at him, only a few inches away. "I don't give two shits what you have to say about this, Rusty. We saw her going into your home. Give her to us now so she can pay for what she did before we make you." "What's going on here?" I asked. The pony who was yelling at Rusty looked over at me. "Who the fuck are you?" "I'm the courier from the radio. Now please answer my question." "Piss off, this doesn't concern you. This is Trotston business. I don't care who you are or why you're here. We don't need outsider input," he said, looking back at Rusty. The ponies behind him yelling in agreement. Rusty sighed and said as calmly as I could, "I never said she wasn't here. All I said was that she only came here to apologize for what happened back at the stable. She wasn't in her right mind back then, and she was still a child. She can't be held responsible for her actions." If this is about the Wind Thrasher, then it does concern me. She's my friend and traveling companion. Whatever your problem is with her, then it's with me as well. I suggest you back off and let us pass before I make you," I said, pulling out Dreamwalker with my magic, chambering around. This was the wrong thing to do. As soon as my gun was out, most of the ponies who were close to me lifted theirs. The one who seemed to be leading the small mob shouted back, "Don't you dare threaten us, runt! This is our town, and we don't answer to ponies like you," he yelled as his eyes fell down to my foreleg. "Where the fuck did you get that?" "None of your business," I said, using my magic to slide the sleeve of my barding down to cover some of the mark II. "I'm not here to fight with any pony, and the same goes for Wind Thrasher. Whatever your problem is with her, it was 20 years ago, and she's not the same pony. Drop it, and get on with your life." His rifle came up, and he stuck it in my face. Rusty stepped in front of him, blocking him from getting closer to me. "Back off. There's no need for that. You need to stop this before you do something you'll regret." He screamed in Rusty's face. "Don't you dare tell me what I need to do, Rusty. You, more than any pony, should remember what happened back then. You watched that monster kill our friends and family. How can you stand there and defend her, or this bitch who's with her?" "Because I know more than you think. You need to remember who the leader of this town is. I decide who's allowed in. I allowed her to come in here, and I let her tell me her story. As for this mare, you should know by now that she's the one who destroyed Stable 9 and killed Dr. Sell. I don't give a shit what she did. She let that thing out. Now she's free to do whatever she wants. How is that fair? She needs to pay for what she did. I don't believe that bullshit about her being under control, that nut job." I got back to my hooves and I was about to say something, but the door behind me blasted open and Wind Thrasher walked out. Now every weapon was pointed up at the Bat Pony. She ignored it all and got right in the face of the pony. "You think I didn't pay for what I did? You think I enjoyed killing every pony I knew? The ponies I called my friends? Do you think it was fun for me when I couldn't control my actions? Because it wasn't. I hated every moment of my life for the past 20 years. "Get away from me, you freak," he said, pointing his rifle right at her head. She didn't even flinch. "Go ahead. Do it. But just so you know, as soon as you pull that trigger, I won't be able to keep my friends from ripping you apart." It looked like the rest of the ponies were waiting to see what had happened. The stallion took a moment, then said around a bit, "You killed my daughter. I can't let that go." "I killed a lot of ponies. I'm sure every pony here lost a loved one that day. But you should know that I lost some pony I loved too. My mom, your Overmare, died too. All because of Dr. Sell. He did all of that just to take over our stable. None of it was me. If I could have stopped myself, I would have. I'm sorry that you lost your daughter, but killing me won't bring her back," Wind Thrasher said, still not backing down. I could see he was about to pull on the trigger. Before he could, I used the trick that Cloak had taught me. My magic pushed the release for the mag. Then I pulled back on the slide, letting the chambered round pop out. It was just in time. As the bullet flew from the rifle, his tongue pulled down the trigger, and the gun clicked. A moment later, Rusty moved in, struck the stallion in the face, then ripped the rifle away, tossing it behind him. "You don't get to decide who lives or dies in Trotston," he said, holding the other stallion down. Windthrasher looked shocked for a moment. Then she looked over to me. "Thank you, Shadow." "I wasn't going to let him do that to you," I started to say. Then a gunshot rang out from the rear of the crowd. Rusty flew back as a bullet ripped through his left shoulder, and all hell broke loose. As Rusty fell, another one of the ponies lifted his rifle and fired at Windthrasher. Luckily, it slammed into her chest. The thick scales she had deflected the bullet with no problem, but the second shot started a wave of gunfire. Aura ran out and took hold of Windthrasher, pulling her back into the house. Then I used my magic to pick up Rusty. Low-caliber fire pelted my barding, but nothing making it through. We just made it inside and shut the door behind us when the mob slammed into the house. Bite ran over to Rusty, looking him over. "Rusty, what the hell happened?" He groaned, looking up at the filly. "Dumbass shot me. Not sure who, though. Give me a healing potion, will you, Cookie?" She ran off towards the medical box that was on the far wall. I took a moment to look out one of the windows. The gunfire stopped, but dozens of ponies were slamming their hooves against the wall and door. "I don't think we're getting out of here as easily as we hoped." "Yeah, no shit," Aura said, pulling her spear off her back. "What should we do now?" "I don't know. I really don't feel like shooting our way out of here. They aren't bad ponies, just pissed off," I replied. Bite ran back with a healing potion for Rusty. He drank it down, then said, "They seem to all be in front of the house. If you head out the back and loop around the houses, you should be able to get away." "What about the guards at the gate?" Wingnut asked. "They only keep ponies out. They won't do anything," Rusty replied. "Yeah, because things always go that well for us." He looked worried for a moment, then said, "Cookie Bite, go with them. If the guards give you trouble, you know what to do." "No problem. But what about you?" she asked. "I'll be fine. Now move," he said, getting back to his hooves, wincing a little. "I'll try and calm them down while you get away." "Good idea. Let's get going," I said, and followed the filly as she led us to the back door. "Also, Shadow," Rusty said before we walked out, "I think it's a good idea if you all stay away from Trotston. I can't let something like this happen in my town again. I know it's not your fault, but consider yourselves exiled from Trotston. At least for now." I nodded, honestly, not caring at this point. There wasn't anything else I could learn from the ponies here, and I wasn't willing to risk any more guns being pointed at me. I followed my friends out the door. The sounds from the ponies grew louder as we came around the house. Bite checked quickly and then waited for us to come. It didn't take long for the sounds of ponies to recede as we worked our way down the alley, closer to the gate. I kept close to Bite as she led us on, wondering who shot at Rusty. I knew the ponies were upset, but why fire at Rusty? If anything, they should have taken a shot at Windthrasher. Something wasn't adding up. I wanted to ask Bite about it, but as we came around the last home that led to the main road leading outside of town, some pony hit Windthrasher from the side. The stallion from before was jumping on top of her, yelling, "You think you can get away that easy, you freak?" Dreamwalker was out again and pointed right at his head as I yelled, "Get off her!" He looked over at my friends and me, lifting a bat high. "Never." The bat came down and a shot rang out and the stallion dropped. The hoofball bat falling harmlessly next to Windthrasher. His body fell to the ground, a hole in his neck. He wasn't dead yet, but he was gagging pitifully as blood poured into his throat from the wound. Windthrasher moved away from him. Her face looked like she was in a little bit of pain. Her wing was hanging a little bit, but didn't look broken. Wingnut moved forward, his revolver smoking. He holstered it. "We don't have time. We have to leave. Now!" I looked up the road and saw more ponies running towards us. Some were the ponies from Rusty's, the others just reacting to seeing one of their own going down. We ran towards the gate, but the other ponies weren't far behind. Bite moved from one side and hit one of the buttons next to the gate. An alarm started to go off as the gate slowly started to open. "We aren't going to make it in time," I yelled, turning to face the oncoming ponies. A couple of unicorns lifted their weapons and started to fire at us, all of them seeming to go mad. I didn't want to hurt them, but at this point, I had to protect my friends. I switched the plasma rifle and took aim, ready to engage Sats when Wind Thrasher stopped in front of me. "No. I won't let you kill them, Shadow. I'll stop them. Just be ready to run." Before I could say anything, she took in a deep breath. Her eyes started to glow when she screamed. Every pony stopped and covered their ears as the high-pitched sound echoed off the buildings and road. Dirt flew up from the ground and formed a small dust storm as Wind Thrasher's voice continued to echo down the street. The ponies started to scream as well, but they couldn't be heard over the sound of the Bat Pony's voice. The closest ones started to bleed from their ears, and their bodies started to shake violently. When the ponies in back stopped to cover their ears, Wind Thrasher stopped her scream. She stood on wobbly hooves for a moment. Then, with a shake of her head, she turned and ran towards the now halfway open gate. As she passed by me, she said, "Don't worry. They aren't dead. They won't be able to come after us for a little while." I just nodded, put away my rifle, and followed her out. Sadly, we didn't get far past the gate. The two guards on their side had their weapons aimed at us. "Hold up. None of you are going anywhere. What just happened back there?" Bite moved closer to them, raising her voice. "There's a riot going on. Rusty's hurt. We don't have time to explain. We need all hooves on deck." They looked at each other, then back at her. "I'm sorry, Bite, but we don't take orders from you." "I got my orders from Rusty, and he's your boss. Now move." They both ran into town. I looked over at Bite's smug face. "Why are so many ponies scared of you?" "Because I'm a bitch. Get going before they come back." "Okay. Make sure you take care of Rusty," I said as we turned to run. As we set out, Bite yelled one more thing. "Hey, Wingnut!" He stopped and turned back to look at her. "What?" "Don't go getting yourself hurt out there. If you do, I'll kill you myself," she yelled. Then, with a blush, she ran back into town, shutting the gate behind her. We put as much distance between us and Trotston as we could, before we slowed down to a steady trot. Breathing hard from the run, I looked over at Wingnut. "I think Bite likes you." He blushed even more than when he had walked in to the bathroom. "She does not. Did you see how nuts she was? Plus, she kept calling me a bug." All three of us laughed as Zora said, "Do you know how girls act when they like someone?" He shook his head. "How would I know?" When girls are young, they get embarrassed when they start to realize they like someone, so at times they'll react with mean words or actions, I said, remembering my own youth. I had a couple other crushes before Milkshake. "That's just stupid," he said, wrinkling his nose. "Girls are so weird. But I don't think she likes me. Even if she did, I don't like her. She's too angry." We all laughed again. We headed off north, making sure to stay clear of the walls of Trotston. As we moved, I said, "I hope Rusty's okay." Wind Thrasher nodded. "Me too. I was surprised he was so forgiving. By the way, thanks for saving me back there, Wingnut." He just shrugged. "I wasn't gonna let him hurt you just because of what happened 20 years ago. It's too bad he had to die because of it, but I'm sure he wouldn't have just let you go after you came to Trotston." "That's what he gets. Ponies like him should think twice if they want revenge. Not like he was a fighter or anything," Laura said, stretching her wings a little. "Wind Thrasher, you took a bad hit to that wing. You doing okay?" She lifted the wing gingerly. "It hurts pretty bad, but it's not broken. I'm sure I'll be fine. It's probably just a contusion." "Good. Because I think we're running out of healing potions," Aura said. "We should try and stock up soon. Maybe we can see about getting some from the ponies at Spitfire's Flight Academy?" I said, pulling out my pip buck and checking my inventory. I only had about 3 left in my saddlebags, and with how things were turning out, I was sure they'd run out before the day was over. As I looked, I remembered the broadcast from my stable. I brought it up and sighed. It was only at 62% complete. How much encryption was on this file? Oh well. Can't do anything about it till it was finished. So I checked one last thing, trying to see how close we were to the flight academy. From how it looked at my Pip-Buck map, we were already about halfway there. Then my eyes fell on the marker that was placed on my map, marking my mom's Pip-Buck tag. I stopped and looked at the marker. Aura looked back at me, asking, "Everything okay, Shadow?" The tag wasn't far. I looked up a small hill and saw a black tree there, standing alone on the top. I have to check on something. I'll be right back. I'll come with you, Aura said, looking back at the other two and continuing. You two stay here. No problem. We should take a moment to rest anyway, Windthrasher said, sitting down and slowly stretching her injured wing. I moved up the small hill with Aura following. What's wrong, Shadow? Mom's Pip-Buck tag. The last location where it gave off a signal was right around here, I said as we reached the dead tree. Are you sure you want to find it? If she's dead, Shadow, do you really think we can handle that right now? I have to know, Aura. Mr. Top said a body wasn't found when he sent the security pony out to look for it, after what happened when her signal went down, but he didn't know where to look. I would rather know the truth now, rather than wait, I said as I started to look around the base of the tree. According to my Mark II, it should be right here. Aura pointed to the base of one of the branches. What's that? I followed her talon, and saw something sitting there. Using my magic, I lifted it away from the trunk and floated it down towards us. It was a well-weathered Stable 28 issued Pip-Buck. I set it down on the ground in front of myself and looked down at it. The screen had gotten dark, but I couldn't say why. I felt a bit relieved and sad at the sight of it. And Mr. Top said there wasn't a body around, so Mom could still be alive. But why would she just leave her Pip-Buck behind like this, in such a strange location? Why? I asked no one in particular. I couldn't say. But we are talking about your mother, Shadow. You know, the pony who loves to leave clues and mysteries in her wake? I picked it up and looked it over, but everything seemed normal. That was until I noticed the light coming from the new day wasn't shining through the hole meant for the foreleg. I looked inside and saw a recording stuffed into the small area. I pulled it out and looked it over. This is another clue left for me by her. Something else? We'll worry about it later. Are you sure it's hers? Yeah, I remember from back when the stable. And who else from Stable 28 would be out this far and leave a Pip-Buck in the same location? Yeah, at least you know she's still okay. Yeah, let's head back. I said, slipping the recorder back into my saddlebags, along with the Pip-Buck. As we started back down the hill, Aura said, Shadow, about earlier. Did you really mean what you said? I smiled. I always mean what I say to you, Aura. I told you that I was here for you, and that won't change. Why? Something bothering you? I wanted to say something to you last night, but I was too scared to tell you. Now I realize it was stupid of me to be scared of being truthful with you, and after everything that's happened, I think it's only fair that you know something, she said, her voice getting low. I could feel my heart starting to race as I said, Aura, no matter what it is, it won't change the way I see you. And the thing is, I'm afraid it will. Stop beating around the bush and tell me already, I said. I had a feeling I knew what she was thinking. I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear the words or not. I didn't even know how I felt about what was on my mind. I wasn't in a good place yet, but also, I knew that knowing what she was going to tell me mattered to both of us. Shadow, for a while now she started, but Wingnut yelled up at us. Shadow! Aura! You two need to come see this! I looked back down at the little shit and yelled, Can it wait, Wingnut? No, it can't. I noticed that he sounded excited and scared. We should go see what's going on. We can talk later, okay? Aura said, walking past me quickly. Great. Stayed by the little shit again. Fuck, when was Aura going to finally tell me what she was thinking? I wanted to trot down the hill and smack the little shit. I was just about to when I noticed what he was looking at. His eyes wide as saucers. There was a pony standing down the small dirt road that led towards the Spitfire Flight Academy. Aura came up next to me, looking down the road, both of our eyes locked on the pony who couldn't possibly be standing there. From behind us, I heard what sounded like wings. Aura looked back and her body tensed up as she said, "Is that Sin? What the hell is she doing here?" I ignored her. As I took a step towards the tall gray Pegasus, my eyes not able to believe what they saw. His sapphire blue mane was waving in the light breeze. His pink eyes were locked onto my red ones. I opened my muzzle and said, "Stardust? Is it really you?" Something wasn't right. Did he escape the Enclave and come looking for us? I wouldn't put it past him. He was a strong pony and smart. I'm sure he could think of some way to escape. That wasn't what bothered me. He lacked his signature Stardust goofy grin. His eyes were hard as he glared down at me. And to top it off, he was wearing dual-plated combat armor, with black underplating and blue overplating. On his flanks, barely visible at the distance, a tribal symbol was painted on it in pink. It was a lion. He opened his muzzle and said in a cold, hard tone, "We finally found you, Shadow Star. Stardust? Are you okay? What in Celestia's name are you wearing?" Ignoring me completely, he looked behind himself and asked, "What do you want me to do with her?" To my horror, Cloak walked up next to him and said, "I'm not taking any more chances with this one. You know what needs to be done." "Understood," he said, then turned back to face me. "Stardust, what are you doing with her?" I said, taking a step closer to him. "What's wrong with you? It's me, your friend Shadow." I heard Aura's older sister Sin yelling from somewhere above me, "Get away from him, Shadow!" It was too late. Stardust pulled a new-looking rifle off his back, aimed it at my head. He took a long, deep breath, his muzzle biting down on the trigger. I couldn't move. I couldn't run. There was no way Stardust could be doing something like this. It had to be envy. He was making himself look just like Stardust to mess with my head or something. "Shadow, move!" Aura screamed. But it was too late. Stardust finished pulling down on the trigger. There was a flash, followed by a loud boom. Something blocked my vision before I was hit by something. Blood flew, and a loud scream filled the air, followed by another boom. Footnote. Level up. New perk added. Foal at heart. You are truly a foal at heart. Colts and fillies find you more trustworthy than your average adult, due to your playful and kind nature. Now, whenever you talk to a colt or filly, you'll have an easier time convincing them to assist you. And just be careful, because as everyone knows, children say the darndest thing.